The air, thick and still for a month, finally breaks. It does not crack. It shatters. A scent of ozone and wet dust precedes the assault, a warning these early humans understand in their bones. The sky over the gorge, a bleached out canvas moments before, is now the color of a fresh bruise. The matriarch, her face a mask of deeply etched lines, makes a sharp, guttural sound and points with her chin towards the high ground. There is no debate. The half-butchered gazelle, the prize of a long, patient morning, is abandoned to the coming torrent. Survival is the only currency here. In the deep past of this Pleistocene world, they move as one body with 12 heads, the young clinging to their mothers' backs, their wide eyes fixed on the darkening horizon. This is a scene repeated across millennia of hominid history, a primal dance between instinct and a hostile world. The first drop of rain is not a drop at all. It is a fist of water that explodes on the baked turf, followed by 100 more. The dry riverbed, their highway and larder, begins to hiss. The sound starts as a distant whisper, a vibration felt through the soles of their feet, then grows to a grinding roar. A wall of brown, churning water, studded with uprooted trees, is coming. The cart scrambles up the scree slope, hands and feet finding purchase on weathered drop. A young male, gripping a heavy old Owen chopper, looks back and sees the kill site disappear under a liquid avalanche. He feels no loss, only the cold grip of fear. The boat, a dark opening in the limestone cliff, promises sanctuary. A cave, high and dry. The matriarch is already there, pulling the smaller children inside, her silhouette framed against the churning grey chaos. They pile into the dim, cool darkness, the smell of mineral and old animal musk filling their nostrils. They are a knot of shivering bodies, listening to the storm's symphony of destruction outside. Then, a flash of searing white light illuminates the cave's interior for a horrifying, silent second. It reveals walls slick with moisture and a floor littered with the splintered bones of giant prey. An instant later, the sound arrives. A concussion that feels as if the mountain itself has been struck by a god's hammer. A deep, grinding groan follows, the shriek of stone on stone. The world outside the cave entrance simply vanishes behind a cascade of rock and earth. The roar of the flood is instantly muffled, replaced by a terrifying, profound silence broken only by the drip of water from the ceiling and the patter of falling dust. They are sealed in. They are plunged into a blackness so complete it feels like a physical weight. And from the deepest, blackest recesses of the cave comes a low, sea-huffing sound, a rumble of discontent that is not thunder. They are not alone. Panic, a cold and suffocating blanket, threatens to smother them, but panic is a luxury they cannot afford. The matriarch, her body rigid in the oppressive blackness, emits a series of sharp clicks with her tongue. It is not language as we know it, but it is communication, absolute and clear. Silence, stillness, wait. The sea huffing from the depths is answered by another, closer this time. They wait, sniffing sound echoes of the unseen walls. They are being hunted in their own tomb. One of the males, the one who carried the chopper, fumbles in his hide pouch. His fingers, clumsy with fear, close around to specific stones, a piece of iron pyrite and a sharp-edged flint. Here, in the heart of prehistory, the most fundamental of survival skills is about to be tested. He strikes them together. A miss, a scrape, another. The sniffing grows louder, bolder. A low growl vibrates through the stone floor. Then, a shower of brilliant orange sparks ignites the darkness. They bloom for a half-second. A flare of revelation, catching on the tinder dry moss he holds cupped in his other hand. A tiny ember glows, breathes, and catches. As he blows gently, a fragile flame wavers to life, pushing back the gloom. The light reveals a gallery of nightmares, not 10 paces away. Separated by a narrow choke point in the rock, are the cave's true masters. These are not the scavengers of the modern plains. They are Pieki crocot abraversities, giant short-faced hyenas. the size of lionesses, with skulls built for one purpose, to crush the bones of mammoths. Their eyes, a constellation of malevolent green sparks, glitter in the firelight. One, a massive female with a scarred muzzle, bears teeth thick as a man's thumb. The clan acts without a signal, a single organism driven by a shared terror. They are ancient humans, and their instinct is not to fight this foe, but to build. They scramble to the choke point, grabbing loose stones, fallen stalactites, anything solid. The young male with the torch stands guard, waving the flame to keep the beasts at bay, while the others, mothers and juveniles, heave rocks into the gap. It is a frantic, desperate work of primitive technology, a world born of pure fear. The hyenas, momentarily confused by the fire, now surge forward. Their infamous whooping calls deafening in the enclosed space. A massive head lunges, jaws snapping inches from a young female's hand. A heavy limestone block slams down, and the beast recoils with a frustrated roar. For now, the barricade holds. Days bleed into one another, measured only by the waxing and waning of the fire,
The journey back is slow.
which they must feed with scavenged scraps of dried lichen and their own precious hide wrappings. The siege becomes a relentless pressure. The sounds never cease. The scrape of claws on rock, the heavy thud of a shoulder ranging their wall, the chilling, manic laughter that promises a violent end. Resource scarcity is no longer a concept. It is a physical agony, a hollow clawing in their bellies. The matriarch, with a foresight that has guided these human ancestors for a lifetime, oversees the division of their last reserves. A handful of dried berries and a few tough roots. An older male offers his portion to a whimpering child, a silent act of altruism that underscores the deep, unspoken bonds holding them together. But the matriarch herself eats nothing. She sits with her back to the damp cave wall, her breathing growing shallow, her gaze as distant, as if she is already walking a path her clan cannot yet follow. The firelight casts deep shadows into her face, and in her fading eyes, the clan sees its own hope beginning to die. The end begins with a grinding sound. A keystone in their desperate barricade, a massive slab of limestone, tilts forward. Dust and pebbles rain down as the immense pressure from the other side finds a point of failure. The sea huffing and growling intensifies, turning into a chorus of frenzied excitement. They can smell the hyena's hunger, a foul, musky scent that seeps through the cracks. The fire is now little more than a pile of glowing embers, a dying red eye in the center of their shrinking world. The matriarch lets out a soft exhalation of breath, a final, ragged sigh. She does not move again. The emotional turning point is not a dramatic cry, but a silent, crushing absence. Her passing leaves a vacuum that fear rushes in to fill. But one mind is not on the fading wall. It is on a draft. The young male, the fire maker, while searching the back of the chamber for anything that might burn, and felt it, a trickle of cooler, cleaner air from a hairline fissure near the ceiling. It is their only chance. Grasping his chopper, he points, his grunts sharp with urgency. He begins to climb the wet, slick roar, hammering at the edges of the crack. This is the essence of human evolution in action. Not waiting for the world to change, but forcing a change upon the world with a tool and an idea. Another male joins him, and together, they strike in a desperate rhythm. The primitive technology of sharpened stone against ancient limestone is agonizingly slow, but with every chip that falls, the fissure widens by a fraction. Their hope is measured in handfuls of dust. But oh, the barricade groans, heaving inward. The time for excavation is over. The clan must move now. The young male slides down, turning to the others. He demonstrates the path. A difficult, vertical scramble. They understand. One of the mothers, her face a mask of terror, pushes her child up towards the opening. The others from a human ladder, boosting the small, trembling body into the tight passage. To truly understand their world, you must become a chronicler yourself. Find a common stone below and etch your own mark upon this record. One by one, they follow, a desperate, silent ascent. They are a single entity. Their cognitive mapping of the escape route, shared through gesture and frantic instinct. The last one to go is the firemaker. As he places his foot on the first handhold, the barricade collapses, not with a crash, but with a dusty avalanche of rock. The giant hyenas pour into the chamber, their eyes burning with ferocious, triumphant light. The body of the matriarch is the first thing they find. Her sacrifice, unintentional but absolute, buys the clan a final 10 seconds. The male scrambles upward, the foul breath of the lead hyena hot on his heels. Jaws snap, catching only a flap of his hide legging. He feels a searing pain as teeth graze his calf. But he kicks free and hauls himself into the passage, wriggling through just as the massive beast slams against the opening. Roaring in fury, he does not look back. He only climbs, following the whimpers of his clan towards a sliver of impossible, brilliant light. They emerge one by one from the rock, reborn into a world washed clean by the storm. They are blinking, bleeding, and incomplete. Of the 12 who entered the cave 30 days ago, 7 now stand under the vast, indifferent sky of an ancient earth that existed 1,000,000 years ago. The matriarch is gone. 2 young males are gone. Others were lost to sickness in the damp dark. They carry no artifacts from their ordeal, save for the scars on their bodies and the new, hard-earned knowledge etched into their minds. They learned the brutal physics of a siege, the geometry of a breakout, the agonizing calculus of sacrifice. This harrowing event, a footnote in the deep time records of paleontology, is more than a story of survival. It is a crucible, the intelligence that widened the fissure, the community that built a wall and then a ladder of bodies, the foresight that rationed the last berry. These are not just strategies. They are the foundational pillars of our own world. The siege in the Hyena Cave was a battle, but it was also a test, an evolutionary examination they passed not with fang or claw, but with coordinated, intelligent, and deeply human desperation. We have built our own caves of steel and glass, and we face sieges of a different nature. But the profound question echoes from that limestone cliff. Whether when the walls we build inevitably fail, we will still remember how to climb toward the light. Together, the bones of the earth keep the score, and they do not lie. They simply wait for the silence to fall, so that the story can be heard. And on the frozen steppe, a new kind of mind is learning to hunt the hunters.